Big Ed here. Today I have a SWFA SS fixed 12 by 42 millimeter scope that I'm going to be talking about. This scope I just purchased and off a recommendation. We'll talk about that later. But this is a fixed 12 power scope right here. It's made by SWFA. It is in milliradians right here, and the adjustments are 1/10 of a milliradian. And this is the elevation, and that's for windage right there, the turrets. It's got basically your focus ring right here. You know, you can zoom it all the way down to, focus it all the way down to 10 meters. And then bring it all the way up to infinity. And then you got 500, 200, 100, 50, 30, so on and so forth. That's your focusing ring right there. You know, you can bring it, plus or minus, depending on how your vision is. I have it zeroed out and I can see pretty clearly through it. And there you can see the actual mark, for the scope. And then also you can see it's got a small sunshade on it right now, but you can see it's threaded. You can get a larger sunshade for this, and really put a sunshade on this scope. This basically, I ordered the scope and it came in its box, came with a little Allen wrench. That was the only thing it came with. It did not come with caps for this scope. The Allen wrench, you can see, works the turrets right here. So once you zero your scope, you can twist the head obviously on the turret, so it's zeroed out right there. And you can see the nice little markings right here. Basically, one whole revolution of each dial. We were on 5. That brings us up to 6 right there. You can see in the little lines right there. So if you go a full revolution, you can actually see it right there. And also, this is it goes in tenths of a radian, this scope. So that would be half a radian right there. And then once you're all the way around again, it loops around to 5.5, which is pretty cool. So, because this will be the knob you're mostly using is your elevation, and that you're really going to be bringing around, sometimes, 2, 3 full rotations, maybe a little more. But, I like the, all the markings on here. So if, you get 3, 4 full turns in this, you can see where you are and you know where to bring it back to get your zero. So, if one day you shoot at 1,000 yards or next day you're shooting at 100, you're not sending a bullet off the target by 50 feet. Same thing with the windage right there. You can see the little markers right there. So when you go past your full zero right there, you can tell, and that was very helpful. Also, you can see the Allen things right here, so you can zero it in correctly. And that's pretty much it for the controls of this scope. You got this little sticker right here, where it's filled with nitrogen, says "Do not remove," and then there are a couple other little markings right here, and that's basically it right there. So you got your focus ring right here. For your eye focus, this is correct for your vision. This would be actual focusing the scope right here at 10 millimeters all the way up to infinity. Your turrets right here. And then, and this is 42 millimeter tube, so you'll need to get, corresponding rings for this. Basically, my decision to buy a fixed power 12 scope was I'm looking to get my 308 varmint rifle out to 1,000 yards. And in order to do that, you're going to need a quality piece of glass to do that. And I was looking at some of the, variable high-end scopes out there, and they get really expensive. You're looking at $1,000+ So then I started, basically I was watching some of first I started looking on some blogs, and all the blogs for like long range, extreme long range shooting came back to a guy named Tiberiusaurus Rex, and that's his YouTube page, and I have to give him a lot of credit. And I've watched not even all of them, but I've watched at least 40 plus of his 70 some videos out there on extreme long range shooting. He has one video on recommending scopes, and this was on one of his lists. And this scope is United States military approved, and that basically comes down to is the actual toughness of the scope. The way the scope feels. Also in the turrets is a very big one too. How accurate are your turrets? Can you wind it all the way up or down and then bring it back to zero, and it actually is back at zero? Is it going to do what you want it to do? and also, can it be banged around and not break, which is very important. And this scope will do that. At least that's what I've read on it, and I did multiple reviews on it. And this scope I paid $300 for, and that's what I see it listed on the SWFA website for this scope right here. And I got it in mil radians. They recommended, I have another couple scopes and minutes of angle, and I'm used to that. So this will be new for me to learn how to work the mil radians. I haven't used those. And basically, mil radian is just a radius of a circle that goes out, and then that's the angle. So it's basically 57.3 degrees is 1 mil radian. And then, if this is intense, each one will be a tenth of that, which would be 5.73 degrees will be each. It will be each click on the dial. Will move you 5.7 degrees out there. So I'm going to have to get the corresponding books and shooter's tables and guides for this scope right here. But in this scope also weighs 22 ounces. It's 22 and change. It's heavy. It feels like a quality piece. There's some good weight here, and the turrets are big. This is considered a tactical scope. This is definitely not a hunting scope. I mean, you could use it for hunting with the length of those turrets sticking out, but it feels like quality. Really, it does to me. And it's just moving all the knobs and the dials of it. It feels very precise, and everything's got a good liquid feel to it, which I really like. And it definitely feels like a quality scope, and it's really clear. The glass is super clear. I've already brought it out on a nice day, and I have a little video of it I'm going to put up after I'm done blabbing here, showing the reticle as best as I can. The reticle's phenomenal. It really is, and I've noticed the difference between the reticle of this and then other scopes, even in this price range that I was looking at Dixon at Walmart and Cabela's and that, and so on and so forth, that nature. Also with a fixed power scope, with the 12 power scope, it's going to be a good target scope. Probably a little too much magnification for hunting, unless you're hunting on wide open land, on plains, animals, stuff in that. This is I'm intending this for a long range 308, and that's my goal with this scope right here. But it's definitely a quality piece, and the reviews on this are excellent. Also with a fixed power scope, there's less glass actually in the scope. You're going to have less lenses in here, so it's going to be clearer than a variable power scope, because there's less light that has to transmit through the different lenses in the scope. So through a comparable fixed power scope than to a variable power scope. So I really wanted that, and I wanted to pay for some good turret quality. So I had to, I didn't want to spend over $1,000, so I bought a fixed 12 power, and I didn't want to get really nuts with the magnification since it was just a 308. I'm only good out to about 1,000 yards meters, and that's with the best bullets. All right, so we're looking through the SWFA scope right now. This is really difficult to try to get an image of this 12 power. Try to get to be clear. Very difficult. Hopefully some of this is going to come through. You can see the reticle. It's in milliradians. I'm just trying to hold the camera steady. I have the scope. The scope is not on a gun. It's just bounced on my truck seat, shooting out the window. It's probably as good as I'm going to get. It's the infinity. The focus is set on infinity right now, but hopefully that gives you a pretty good idea right there. Let's see, we're all the way zoomed out. Maybe we could zoom it in. Would help. See the reticle, yeah. This will give you an example of what you're looking at in the distance. We're zoomed in on those towers right there. The base plate and the scope rings that I've bought. You can see this is a single base plate right here. These are also steel too. This is for a short action Remington 700, and it comes with your Allen bolts right there. You can see the 4 holes. And it's made for a right hand use right there. This is the bottom of it. There's the top. These are basically same thing. I had these recommended by Tiberiusaurus Rex on YouTube, and I sent him an email. He emailed me back about a day later and said that these he recommends these are the best. for the price. That they're about half the price of Badger rings and bases, but provide just about the same quality and the same durability and tolerance and very tight tolerances. So I went ahead and ordered these. This base was about $70 right here, and these scope rings were I think were about 90 if I can remember correctly. And I just bought these, and I'm going to go ahead and mount these up. And these are the low ones. They also make a super low. They make a medium and a high, and they make a couple different kinds. And these are the tactical ones. They have a little more meat on them. And these are also steel. So these are steel, and those are steel. And that's basically copying the the military, that'll run steel optics mounting systems. One plus you're going to get with the steel is it's going to be more rigid. It'll definitely be more rigid than aluminum, but the bad thing is it's going to add more weight. But since this rifle has a 26-inch barrel and it is a heavy barrel, I'm not worried about the adding a few more ounces to it. And you're not talking about a ton. I mean, it's maybe 4 or 5 more ounces for this, maybe 6 in that ballpark. But it's not a killer amount. Maybe a little bit more actually. I'm trying to whatever. But yeah, so we're going to put all this together. So basically the whole optic system is about $160 right there for the mounts, and then $300 for the scopes. About $460 for optics for this rifle right here. But that's from what I've been reading and what I've been watching, that's pretty much top-notch platform right here. And I'm just gonna have to just learn how to use the radian system, the milliradians, and the crosshairs in here are beautiful. The objective inside of the scope, it's unbelievable, the little triangles, and for the 10th radians. And so we'll take a look at it and see what it looks like. But thanks for watching, folks. Appreciate it.